Gang, I have had Blue Apron dinner many, many times. Unbelievably easy to prepare and taste so good. Blue Apron is the leading meal kit delivery service in the U.S., and while many people know what they do, many don't know about the types of meals you can eat when you cook with Blue Apron. How do these sound? Baked tilapia, creamy kale, and fregola sarda pasta, sheet pan roasted pork with fall vegetables and creamy maple mustard, chili butter steaks with lemon parmesan broccoli and potatoes, creamy tomato pasta with mushroom and collard greens. Blue Apron delivers fresh, pre-portioned ingredients, step-by-step recipes that are very easy to follow right to your door. That can be cooked in under 45 minutes. The menu changes every week based on what's in season and is designed by Blue Apron's in-house culinary team. Blue Apron offers 12 new recipes each week, and customers can pick 2, 3, or 4 recipes based on what best fits their schedule. Blue Apron sends only non-GMO ingredients and meat with no added hormones. Blue Apron is treating Golic and Wingo listeners to their first dinner, a $30 value if you visit blueapron.com/Golic. So check out this week's menu. Get your $30 off with free shipping at blueapron.com/Golic. Blue Apron. It's a better way to cook.
With the Citi Double Cash Card, you get 1% cash back when you buy and 1% as you pay. That's like the joy of getting 2 W's on the road or catching the home run ball without spilling your drink. Double boom. Double the love with the Citi Double Cash Card. Apply now at Citi.com/doublecash.
Rolling into hour number 4 on Golic and Wingo on this Tuesday morning. Hope you're having a great Tuesday. Glad you're here with us with a little Queen, and another one bites the dust in the background. Trey Wingo here with Mike Golic. We're glad you're with us. We are presented, as always, by Progressive Insurance, and our phone guest up here join us via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Louis Riddick will be joining us in studio in about 30 minutes to talk about what went on with the Giants and what happened Monday night, how that can possibly be cleaned up, and maybe is Louis still thinking about the idea of returning to the NFL?
Listen, Herm, we lost Herm to Arizona State. We lost Aaron Boone to the Yankees. I think it's just a matter of when, not if, as far as Louis Riddick going back and being in management in football again.
ESPN, not only the worldwide leader in sports, but your worldwide leader in incubating for front office executives and head coaches and managers in your professional sports. We got lots to get to tonight. Don't forget to tune in tonight for college basketball doubleheader as Villanova takes on Gonzaga and Syracuse takes on UConn in the Jimmy V Classic. Coverage begins at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNradio.com, and the ESPN app. So we've got lots to get into, including hopefully some more information about Steelers linebacker Ryan Shazier, who was carted off in the first quarter of that Monday night game with what looked like a horrible injury. We didn't see his legs move, but again, one of the Steelers linebackers, Vince Williams, texting our Jeremy Fowler that Shazier told him he did have feeling in his extremities, and the Steelers are thinking about moving him from Cincinnati to Pittsburgh today, which, again, is the best possible news there.
Yes, it is.
Because if there were major concerns, they would not even go down that road. So
that was just such a scary sight to see, whether you're a fan, a former player, the players on the field and what they were going through. But all I can do is speak for myself, and just watching that and seeing him roll over and reach for his back. The first thing I always do in those situations is I look to see them move everything.
Right.
Hands, arms, feet, legs, the whole deal. And he was obviously moving his arms. And I never saw his legs move, and you just sit there, and that's all I stared at the whole time, for a foot to wiggle, something. Sean McDonough had mentioned that as well on the broadcast, and we never saw it. And that's what worried me the most, and certainly Lisa Salters was trying to find out everything she could on that. And when we couldn't get that report, that's what all I was waiting to hear.
Yep.
Moving all extremities.
Correct.
That was the line I wanted to hear, and when I didn't hear it, man, we went to bed so worried about what I would wake up to with that situation, and it absolutely does sound like it is going in the positive direction.
Yeah, again, the word is a spinal contusion right now. That's what we're hearing it be described at. So, again, if we have updates for you on Ryan Shazier's condition here in the final hour of the show, we'll have it for you here. If not, Lebertard Show might have it, of course, on SportsCenter throughout the day and maybe on NFL Live later on today. So if we have that for you, we will happily bring along any updates for you there. All right, meanwhile, let's start this hour with another edition of...
It's time for... Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
All right, we start off the top with the NBA. Hey, remember when the Cavs were losing all those games in the first week of the season? Relax. They're good. The Cavs made it 12 straight wins Monday with a rout of the Bulls and are now 1 win shy of tying the franchise record of 13 straight wins.
Next game is against Sacramento, so a good chance to tie it up there. LeBron James with 23 and both Kevin Love and Dwayne Wade off the bench with 24. Again, we had talked about this started a few games ago, a 10-game stretch that by the Basketball Power Index was one of the easiest 10-game stretches, in figuring percentage of wins that they would have this year. So taking advantage of it right now. What will be interesting is how they bring Derrick Rose back into the fray. Derrick Rose, who had left the team and wasn't sure if he was going to continue playing, was nursing an ankle anyway. He wasn't playing. Now looks like back in Cleveland, and the players aren't looking for any explanation. They're welcoming him back. He's still got to rehab the ankle, but you wonder how that will mesh again, where his mind is it back in basketball? And if so, how much, if at all, how much can he help this team?
Yeah, again, Sacramento is 7-16 on the season Wednesday, and then they play in Indiana against the Pacers, who are 2 games over 500 on Friday. The Derrick Rose thing is interesting. I think if you're a Cavs fan or a fan of the NBA in general and you like to see LeBron and this team do well, the fact that they found a way to do this without Derrick Rose is very promising. And then you just hope that whatever Derrick Rose has, if there's something that he can contribute, he can find a way to get himself right mentally and physically and then add that to the mix.
Yeah, absolutely, because if you know what they say, if you start thinking about retiring, you're retired.
Correct.
And he was thinking about it, so you're just not sure where his head is at. And we obviously have no idea, and he's trying to work through that, and I'm sure he'll get support from his teammates there, and we'll see where it goes.
And let's not forget, still to make his season debut, the point guard they got in the off-season, Isaiah Thomas.
That's exactly right.
That's going to be really interesting once everybody is there and that gets into the mix. All right, we continue.
Off the top.
Speaking of the NBA, the Warriors improved to 2-0 this season when trailing by 20-plus points at half as they rallied to beat the Pelicans. So the moral of the story is, hey, if you're the Warriors, just be down by 20-plus at the half, you win. It's all good.
Really amazing how they've done that. A couple of eyebrow-raising things a bit. Steph Curry hurt his ankle in this game. He's had surgery on the ankle. He's had some issues with it. You worry about him and his ankles. A couple of years ago in the finals, he had the issues as well. And also, the Warriors, this is amazing. The Warriors were handed 3 technical fouls Monday, including 2 by Kevin Durant, who was ejected for the third time this season, including the second time in 3 games. Prior to this season, Durant had only been ejected once in his 10-year career. The Warriors have had 6 ejections this season, twice as many as any other team. So, they have the target on their back. Everybody's coming after him, and Durant is letting some things get to him, no doubt about it. You already heard him when he was mouthing off to the ref and getting teed up and said afterward, I just have to basically accept it. They're running the game. I have to keep my mouth shut. And he's learning the hard way in some of these, getting tossed 3 times.
You lose those burner accounts, and he has to find a way to vent that anger somehow, some way. So we'll see if he can get that straightened out. A bigger concern here was Steph Curry left with under a minute to go after spraining his right ankle. Now, the x-rays were negative, but he was seen on crutches after the game. So we'll see how that plays out going forward. We continue with
Off the top.
College football. Oklahoma quarterback Baker Mayfield, Stanford running back Bryce Love, and Louisville quarterback and reigning Heisman Trophy champion Lamar Jackson were named the Heisman Trophy finalists Monday.
No Saquon Barkley, which is, remember, crazy. We were handing him this award a couple of months ago. Still looks like will be the first back taken in the draft, and we'll see. Right now, number 1 is it on Mel's board or McShay's board? One of them is number 1 on Mel's big board. So for Saquon Barkley, the running back, Bryce Love, second leading rusher in the nation. Mayfield, second leader in touchdowns with 41. And Lamar Jackson's stats are actually better than they were last year, but Baker Mayfield's got the team and the better record right now. Mayfield is going to win this thing, I think, without question. And he'll be one now of 5 who have 3 top 4 finishes. The last was Herschel Walker, who was 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. In 1947 and 49, Doak Walker, 3rd, 1st, and 3rd. And then you go back before that, 44 to 46, teammates. Glenn Davis and Doc Blanchard. They were 2nd and 3rd in 1 year. Then they were 2nd and 1st the next year, and then 1st and 4th the year after that. That is just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, look, the odds I think Lamar Jackson is 40 to 1. I think Bryce Love is 8 to 1, and Baker Mayfield is 1 to 20. So
he's going to win this thing, and I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah. Again, kudos to him, and If he was 2 inches taller, he might be the number one quarterback taken in the draft.
And David Pollack, our own David Pollack, said he should be the first quarterback that is selected in this draft. We'll see. We have that whole process still yet to go through.
It is going to be a quarterback-rich draft.
Yes, it is.
In April of 2018. And, of course, Golic and Wingo will be there, and I'll be hosting the draft for you. On the television side, it's going to be a lot of fun out in Dallas when all that plays out. And we continue
Off the top.
Talking about the NFL Monday night game, a very physical game that saw multiple players leave with injuries. The Steelers rallied from 17 points down to beat the Bengals in a game that they really had to have if they want to try and keep pace with the New England Patriots and set up that showdown a week from this week, Week 15, when they host the Patriots at Heinz Field.
Yeah, and the other side of that to me was the Bengals, who could have gone to 6-6 and joined the Chargers, Bills, and Raiders, being only one game behind the Ravens for that last wild card spot, and the Bengals still have to play Baltimore, but instead they go to 5-7. So they went the wrong way on this one, as you mentioned, after a 17-0 lead in this one, and not shockingly, a game filled with a lot of penalties. 239 yards in penalties, second most this year. The Bengals had 173 of those 239. And, oh, by the way, in matchups since 2015, including the playoffs, the Bengals and Steelers are the only team, the only pair that have had over 1,000 yards in penalties between the two teams. So, and major, we're talking the major penalties, the unnecessary roughness, unsportsmanlike conduct, face masks, those kind of penalties.
Certainly chippy would be the best possible way to describe that. And a lot of people have said it was just a bad look for the NFL all the way across last night with the injury to Shazier, which again seems like it's trending in a positive direction. And then all the big hits and the suspensions, or maybe fines rather than suspensions, that will be coming out of that game. But again, the comeback, they were down 17-0 late in the first half. They got a big defensive penalty and a great little screen play to Le'Veon Bell that allowed them to get a field goal right before the half. Mike. And you felt like that really rejuvenated them. Let's just get something before the half. They got back into it. They outscored the Bengals 13-0 in the fourth quarter. And again, this stat is ridiculous. That was the 155th time that the Steelers in franchise history had fallen behind 17 points or more on the road. That was only the third time they'd won it. 3-152. So that sets up what potentially could be that game a week from now, deciding who will have home field advantage in the AFC when the Patriots travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. All right, that was Off the Top. We are Golic and Wingo, presented by Upside.com, giving all business travelers the gift of a better travel experience this holiday season. Upside.com.
One more note on that game before we move on. How about that one? I mean, when you're kind of epitomizes Cincinnati, the one touchdown by Le'Veon Bell down the sideline, where if you see it, he kind of gives a little juke stutter step, but still, Jordan Evans, number 50, the linebacker, was right there and looked like he was going to push him out of bounds, so much so that the next guy for the Bengals, who was right there,
William Jackson,
to hit Le'Veon Bell, William Jackson, just pulled up and stopped.
Right.
He just stopped, and Le'Veon Bell ran right past him. He made no move to hit him because I absolutely think he thought Jordan Evans, his teammate, was going to push Le'Veon out of bounds. He didn't push. He missed Le'Veon he's trying to push him in the back. Le'Veon just kept going down the sidelines, and William just stood there, and he just ran straight past William Jackson. That was just amazing to watch.
And you know, part of that is William Jackson. You're thinking, I don't want to get hit for an unnecessary roughness and chucking this guy out of bounds. And this is going back, people are saying, oh, this is recent. Hey, man, do you remember it was 2008, maybe at the latest 2009, where it might have even been 2007. The Giants were playing the Tennessee Titans, and Matthias Kiwanuka, the defensive end / outside linebacker out of Boston College, went in and got Vince Young and had him wrapped up.
Right. And
Vince Young wasn't moving, and he let go because he thought it was going to be, if he threw him to the ground, it would be an unnecessary roughing the quarterback penalty. And they didn't blow the whistle, and Vince Young completed a pass, and they went on to win that game over the Giants. It was 06, rather. Thank you. And Tom Coughlin's face was apoplectic. He's like, what are you doing? But this is the conundrum that all defensive players find themselves in.
You can tell it's in their mind. As I said, the toughest position to play in my eyes is defensive back, not for what Jackson did, but for how they can hit a player, a receiver, over the middle or down the field. But it's very difficult now. Yeah, you don't want to get fined. You don't want to hurt your team.
Correct.
But you don't want to flag and you don't want to get fined. And it's definitely in the minds of the players.
It's really hard to play defense in the NFL right now. It is. And I understand why they're doing what they're doing, but that doesn't mean it's any easier on the guys who now have a 4-inch target to hit, as long as that target doesn't move.
Doesn't move.
Because if he crouches
levels
down, then you're in a big problem. I understand what the NFL is trying to do, and I applaud them for it. But at some point, like the perfect example of this, and I'm glad the NFL did this the right way. When Kiko Alonso blasted Joe Flacco on that scramble, 4 or 5 weeks ago in that Thursday night game, and it looked so. They kept showing it in slow motion. I'm like, stop showing it in slow motion, because Joe Flacco slid at the last possible second. And according to the rules, if you
slide late,
you give up that protection
Yep.
as a runner. It was week 8 at the NFL. Now, he got flagged. You're always going to get flagged for it, but I'm glad he wasn't fined or suspended for that hit, because there was nothing he could do. He had already launched himself.
The late slide.
And that's the precarious position that defenders find themselves in. Okay, we'll have lots more football coming up at the bottom of the hour, as Louis Riddick will join us in about 15 minutes. But, Mike, we are enforcing something that the Lakers are now. They're calling it the LaVar Ball rule, but not really. You want to try and set up the premise here?
Well, we've seen LaVar Ball hold court on the court, at Lakers games.
Near to it, yeah.
And basically there had been an existing rule that media wasn't allowed to go over by the family, and family, if they're not credentialed, and most family is not credentialed, is not allowed to be on the court doing interviews. And LaVar Ball had done that. So basically the Lakers are now they're not making a new rule. They're enforcing a rule that basically is being said is the LaVar Ball rule, because
they're not calling it that. I misspoke. Everybody else is calling it.
They're just saying that we're going to enforce this rule now. Where basically we don't want a parent or a family member to be able to hold court on court.
Yeah. Look, this is sort of a way for them to try and minimize the ability to interview LaVar Ball about something that might be going on with his son or the Lakers and all that kind of stuff. Basically, they're trying to avoid a nuisance, right? Let's call it the nuisance, the reinforcement of the we don't need a distraction rule, right? That's really what it is.
Without a doubt. And I said this earlier, and there's been so much talk about, obviously, LaVar, whether it's the company that they're running or that he's running, or what's going on with his sons. But I brought this up a while ago. I said, everybody thinks it's all cute and all this. I particularly don't. I think it's ridiculous. That's why I say he's not going to be on the show. We're not giving him a microphone. Too many other people are. And that's fine if they want to do it. It's certainly up to them. But what I said is, okay, everybody's going to give him a microphone. What happens when he starts criticizing the team? And that's what's happened. When he criticized Ingram, saying he should have passed the ball to his son. When they said they're coaching his son too soft. Why did Walton call a timeout? All that is starting now. And listen, it's not like parents or family members don't have an opinion. But he gets a microphone put in his face, and he's going to say it. And that's what I said. When it starts getting to that, how is that now going to be for Alonzo with his teammates when all of a sudden Dad's calling out one of Alonzo's teammates because he didn't pass his son the ball, or the coach shouldn't have called the timeout, or this? And I thought Luke Walton handled it well, saying, I understand his passion for his kids. He's done a great job with his kids, but we don't concern ourselves with family members, and the coaching aspect of it. So that's something to keep an eye on. I said it's going to become a problem. He's going to start. He did it at UCLA when Lonzo was there. He criticized some of the Lonzo's teammates when he was at UCLA, and it's happening now. So you just wonder how long that's going to play. And that, as we know, isn't the only issue going on here with LaVar Ball.
And again, I think we have to sort of differentiate between LaVar and Lonzo. Lonzo's struggling a little bit for the Lakers, but by all rights, this is a great kid.
Absolutely
who's trying to do everything the right way.
Right.
So if you have issues with LaVar, keep them with LaVar.
Right.
Don't pile LaVar Ball's issues onto Lonzo, because that's not fair to the kid. But you mentioned that's not the only news. In the other LaVar Ball news, he has pulled his middle son, LiAngelo, from UCLA. This after what happened in China, where LiAngelo admitted, hey, we took a few things, we thought we'd get away with it. He was in jail for a day and a half, I think, and then they spent time holed up in their hotel. They got back, and UCLA has suspended him indefinitely, and now LaVar has decided in his infinite wisdom that he is going to pull LiAngelo from UCLA, because if he's not playing there, I'm going to get him ready for the NBA draft better than UCLA could. And our basketball insider, Jeff Goodman, says that that's probably not going to matter anyway.
NBA guys don't have him on their radar first, second. If there was a third round, he wouldn't be on the radar right now for the third round. So LaVar told me that basically, the key for him is trying to get him on that G League team with the Lakers. Ultimately, that's his goal, is to have all three in the Lakers organization. Lonzo with the Lakers, the youngest one eventually, LaMelo with the Lakers, and LiAngelo hopefully being a free agent and trying to get with the Lakers G League team. That's the goal.
So, you heard the laughing in the background. He was on the 6 with Jamel and Michael. First and foremost, this isn't new. Now he's gone from there. We'll see what the other two players do, Cody Riley and Jalen Hill, because we talked about this years earlier when Rick Neuheisel was at UCLA. There were a couple of incoming freshmen who stole something off of a backpack while they were there in the summer portion before their freshman year, and they were suspended for the year. They were basically suspended until January when the season was over, and then they could come back on the team. None of them stayed at UCLA. So it's not uncommon that a player will go to another school. As I said, I don't know what the other two are going to do. So him, Ball leaving UCLA is not uncommon. But when you have the notoriety that his father, has out there, it becomes the story. And then it becomes a story when I'll get him ready better than UCLA will, and I want him in the G League. And then LaMelo, once he's done with his, aging up enough to be in the NBA, he'll be on the Lakers as well. He wants them all there. Again, there's nothing wrong with a parent wanting that for his kids. And by all accounts, we're not there. It seems his kids don't have an issue with their father, but we're not there. We have no idea.
That's a separate discussion.
And that is absolutely a separate discussion.
And that's their decision to make how they want to handle that.
And I don't know about the situation from, Jello's side of it. Did he want to leave? Does he want to go play college? So, because basically the book on him was he was a mid-level college guy.
Right.
Who still ended up at UCLA with a younger brother coming up. Again, this is what is reported to us. Does he still want to be in college, or was this his idea as well with his father to just prepare and try and get in the G League? I don't know, but it becomes, nationwide news, and LaVar ends up on every outlet out there to talk about it. When this isn't so odd, these players leaving a school, as I just mentioned, it happened at that same school with football players. But man, you wonder. 10, 15, 20 years from now, I wonder what the narrative will be if the kids ever chime in. Maybe they'll say, "Listen, we back our dad 100%. He raised us great. We loved playing basketball, and he was right there for us. He was an involved parent," which is what some people have said. He's an involved parent.
He's definitely involved.
All right,
There's no question about that.
I do not want to get on a guy and his parenting skills, because it does seem like his kids really dig him. But again, I'm not there. But you do have to wonder about the decisions. Some decisions that are made.
Well, look, the way Lonzo has handled this has been remarkable. He did that really hilarious Father's Day commercial over the summer.
It was fantastic.
It was great. So
fantastic.
Obviously,
yes,
he is doing fine with all of this. But just so people understand, it's not just our own Jeff Goodman that thinks the idea of Jello making it to the NBA is a long shot. Adrian Wojnarowski putting out these tweets. LiAngelo Ball, the ex-UCLA freshman, has no chance he'll be drafted in June. And that was true even before the shoplifting incident in China, adding, quote, "He's not on any of our scouting lists, even the extended lists," one GM told ESPN. And then Woj went on to say Ball will struggle to find a serious job playing pro basketball, including the G League. Mike Schmitz projected him in high school as a small ball stretch four-man, and at the mid-major college level. It would make sense for Ball to find a scholarship at a lower level and stay in school.
Well, and I guess that's where it comes in, where the dad is saying, I can prepare him better. Can you, or does he need some schooling? That I don't know. At least LaVar seems to be realistic in saying I'm trying to get him in a G League, and not saying I'm getting ready for him to go in the NBA draft, which nobody thinks is going to happen. So time will tell. We will see. We'll see what the other two players decide they want to do at UCLA as well. But we know, who's going to get the lion's share of the publicity for it.
Yes, stranger things have happened, and they probably will continue to happen along this saga. All right, coming up next, Louis Riddick will join us in studio. How would he fix the Giants? What did he think of the optics of the Monday night game between the Bengals and the Steelers? And you have a little bit of a bone to pick with Louis, I'm told?
Oh, that was a while ago.
Just,
that was a while ago. But you know what? Just for fun, I'll bring it back up.
We will happily bring that back.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Delighted to be joined now in studio by our front office insider, Louis Riddick. Joins us to give us the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Louis, lots to get into, including the mess that the Giants have sort of found themselves into right now. What's the best possible outcome for them going forward for the rest of this season to try and get the narrative back on track in some way, shape, or form?
The best possible outcome really would be, look, for the football team to show some competitive character that is Giant worthy, number one. For whoever is left to play on this football team, to actually not have us be able to sit there and subjectively judge them and go, this is a football team that this is not playing with the kind of professional competitive character that they should be. That to me, I think the one loss record really is irrelevant. I don't think there is a best case scenario because they're not going anywhere.
Right.
I think the best case scenario for them is going to take place far away from the football field. It's going to be how Mr. Mara right now gets together with Ernie Corsi, and they kind of start formulating a plan for how do we get the right general manager, philosophically have that guy matched up with the right coach, and then start evaluating this roster, evaluate the free agent class, evaluate the draft class, get the right coaching staff in here, get the right plan together as far as improving this football team in the months of February, March, and April, which is really why, Trey, Mike, they're in the position that they are. That's when they made their mistakes. And that stuff all manifests itself in having seasons like this. When you lose players, they don't have depth, you don't have the right coaching mix, you don't have the right communication, that's just when you start making changes.
So is there any doubt that the GM needs to come first here? And if the GM comes first, is the discussion first before hiring that GM what you think will happen with Eli Manning? How much of a conversation is that?
I think that's a big part of the whole interview process for whoever the GM is going to be is what would be your plan here? What would be your plan if you kept him? What would be your plan if you were going to move on from him? And a lot of that has to do with what kind of coach do you think you could get? What would be your plan for really repairing the relationship? Ownership is going to have to be involved in that because, look, Mr. Mara already admitted the fact that he is culpable in this whole mess as well. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a big, big part of it. That's probably going to be the number one question as far as when you start evaluating the roster. What is your plan? What would you do as far as Eli?
Look, the amazing thing is Ben McAdoo was hired as an offensive guru, right? He came over as Aaron Rodgers' quarterback coach. In his entire tenure with the Giants, they never scored 30 points in a game.
Yeah.
I mean, they never scored 30 points in a game. That's a remarkable thing considering they have Odell Beckham Jr., they had Sterling Shepard last year, they have Eli Manning, and those guys could never get 30?
Yeah.
I mean, the way the game is played today, the way the game is officiated today,
yeah,
that's remarkably bad.
Yeah, that is a pretty bad indictment on your ability to utilize players that everyone else would consider to be top flight players, especially at the skill positions. Now, he in his defense could go, well, I'll tell you why we weren't able really to develop a running game because no one really gave me a running back. No one gave me offensive linemen that could stay healthy as a cohesive unit and actually move people off the ball. He could make all of his arguments that counter the fact that he didn't score 30 points in a game or coach a team to score 30 points in a game, and that's where Jerry Reese comes into play. That's where really I think the Giants did what I think is ideally the best thing in these kind of situations, which is when you change it, you change everything because they're so interconnected, Mike. I mean, I don't know how, unless you were there every day, that you could start singling out people for going, it's your fault, but it's not yours. It's yours, but it's not quite yours, which was what made the whole Tom Coughlin situation one where people were sitting there scratching their head going, how's that Tom Coughlin just him and it's not the G? How do you do that?
Well, they kept the staff, right?
Exactly. So how do you do that? So those are kind of things that, look, they made the right decision. They're just going to have to get it right now on the backside as far as who ushers in the next era.
Speaking of getting it right, Rob Gronkowski has suspended one game. His appeal will be heard today by Derek Brooks. Did they get it right with one game, and what happens in the appeal?
Because it's such a, you take into account, like, so many different things as far as how many games a guy should get, prior history, when did it occur, was it during the course of play, after the course of play? I mean, that can be, look, I could say 2 games, I could say 3 games, I could say 4 games, and I could have people support me with all those.
Sure.
And then I could say that, and people would still say, it's not enough. Suspend the rest of the season. I will say this, though, just looking at the play. And I'm going to qualify it by saying this. I am someone who loved the viciousness of the game. I just am.
You played that way.
Okay? My heroes were guys you played with and played against. I worshipped Ronnie Lott, Dennis Smith, Jack Tatum. So you're never going to hear me bash players for trying to be physical, although I understand the landscape and I understand the concern for player safety going forward. That's when the game is being played.
Right.
What Gronk did is different. Tre'Davious White is 195 pounds. Maybe 6 foot 195. My favorite corner in this draft coming out this past year from LSU. You remember me saying that?
We both talked. We love Tre'Davious White coming out of this draft.
Gronk physically is a monster. You cannot, when a guy's laying on the ground, face down,
with his back turned,
put your braced up elbow in the back of his neck and smash his face in the ground. I don't care how ticked off you are. You will never hear me you'll never hear me defend that. And I know people the past 24 hours have been saying that, you know what, you're not being hard enough on Gronk. You were a lot harder on Mike Evans. I said, look, I killed Mike Evans. It was BS.
Deservedly so.
And what Gronk did is BS.
Yep.
He knows better. Players have to protect one another. If something happens in the course of playing a game like George Iloka's hit last night on AB,
right?
I've seen that hit 1,000 times. I'm telling you, he's not trying to hurt AB. I've hit players like that 100 times. I've watched guys hit players like that 100 times, and it wasn't called back in the day. But you can't do it now, and you'll never hear me say, oh, don't throw the flag. I'll say, look, you're going to have to throw the flag. And players, if you can't adjust, you're going to get fined or get knocked out. Right. But what Gronk did is different.
Yeah, the play was over. It was on the sidelines. It was done. It wasn't a bang play like Juju Smith-Schuster on Vontaze
Right.
Burfict.
So whether I say 2 games or 200 games, there are always going to be people who go on either side. But look, let me just qualify it by saying this: what he did is BS, and we know it. I never championed that kind of thing. Neither did you.
No.
Neither did any other vicious players who played in this game. It's BS. So whatever he got, I was fine with.
Look, he knows it. He apologized afterwards. And Bill Belichick, you heard that camera catch it when he was talking to Sean McDermott afterwards. He called it a BS play.
Yep.
They all knew it, so we're just waiting for the process to play out here. By the way, if the suspension holds, Gronk would be the first Patriots player suspended by the NFL for the violation of unnecessary roughness rules in over a decade. So this is not something that's preached in any way, shape, and form.
No.
They play to the echo of the whistle, and they play it the right way. He just took it too far.
That's right.
I get it. He was frustrated. Can't do that.
Right.
Can't do that, especially when that guy ends up with a concussion.
Hey, you could have, you could have seriously hurt the guy.
Absolutely.
I mean,
right.
and we're talking about something where, like last night, you saw the serious, like legit trepidation on people's faces about Ryan Shazier. What if that would have happened to Tre'Davious White?
Right. Absolutely right.
There would be, there's no telling what the airwaves would be filled with right now.
Absolutely right.
So to that point, obviously, we've been talking about that a lot this morning, Louis, with the idea of what happened last night. Damian Woody and a couple of other players have tweeted that they thought everything that went on in that game, not just the Shazier injury, which is separate from the chippiness that went on. That was just a football play that just turned bad. Was that a bad look for the NFL on Monday night?
Yeah, they're going to be. I'm sure they're very, very concerned about the fact that, look, they're trying to, in today's society, they're trying to give the impression that, look, we're trying to maintain the integrity of the game and what inherently is a very physical, violent, risky game. Okay, we understand that, but at the same time, they don't want it to look like they have lost control of the players in this regard. Like, they're not going to follow the rules, and they're not going to abide by, their mandate that they're trying to legislate some of these unnecessary headshots out of the game. They don't want that. And last night, it looked like they lost control. It looks like players lost control. It looks like the players didn't care about one another as much as they should. And this game is very personal. It's personal between these two. When they asked Big Ben after the game, how do you explain this game? He said, AFC North. And he wouldn't say another word, really.
Right.
Because look, it's different in this game. It's different. When I played in old AFC Central, when it was the Houston Oilers, Browns, Bengals, Steelers, and you're playing against Jerry Glanville teams, and you're playing against the old Steelers team, look, it became personal. It was personal between you when you played the Cowboys, personal when you played the Redskins. This ramped up. But the players do have to take care of each other. It isn't just the league's responsibility; it's the players' responsibilities too.
So last one, we have under a minute to go here.
Sure.
A couple of weeks ago, you and I disagree with you. You thought Patrick Mahomes should move into the starting lineup. I completely disagree with anybody who said that.
Yeah.
They have lost 6 of 7 after the 5-0 start. Where are you at with that now?
You know what? I was saying that I know I was waiting for Alex Smith to turn and look in the camera and call me out on national TV like, hey, isn't there somebody on ESPN who said I should be sitting? Look, Patrick is special, and he's going to be special. He is. Alex Smith is a great professional. The Kansas City Chiefs' problems extend beyond Alex Smith in the quarterback position. You saw it. Really, here's really the problem. The defense is going to hold them back. Okay, they can't cover. They can't rush the passer. They only have one pass rusher. D Ford, I don't know the last time we've seen him.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a problem. So, Look, I love Alex. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be a better pro. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be one of the best quarterbacks we've seen coming in this league on a long time. And I believe
they moved up for a reason.
I believe they believe that too. And you know what? If you went back and you watched again some of his preseason play, and you saw some of their practice film, you'd be going, man, I'd like to see him play.
Well, look, but you know what, though? Alex Smith threw for 4 touchdowns, had a 70-yard touchdown
pass,
and ran for 70
pro.
yards.
He's the ultimate pro.
He wasn't the reason that they gave him 38 points, and the Jets certainly looked like the 2013 Broncos on Sunday. Louis, we appreciate it. We'll see you on NFL Live later on today, I'm assuming. All right, we continue on Golic and Wingo, closing out the final hour here. We went through some tweets, and we've done them throughout the show, but one tweet I thought was very interesting because, Ryan Clark was on the Ryan Russillo show, and he texted Tre'Davious White about the hit from Gronkowski, and basically, the message he got back from Tre'Davious White was, when we play him again, everybody wants a piece of Gronk. And that's going to happen, Christmas Eve, I believe that game is in. So that'll be the penultimate game, Week 16 of the regular season. And one of the Twitter followers that we have on the account chimed in, well, if that's the case, and if the Patriots have locked up home field advantage, and that's a big if by that time, would you consider not playing Gronk in that game to avoid a retribution-type play?
First, I saw some Patriot fans yesterday who actually, I don't want to say hoped, but would have no problem if Gronk's appeal is lost today and he sits the game thinking, they're playing Miami, why not get him banged up, let him take a week off? But this is then different to say he's healthy, he's allowed to play, and you just sit him for a game against Buffalo because you're afraid of retribution. Nobody's going to do that.
Yeah.
Not in this. The league still has some macho testosterone to it that says we are not giving into your threats of we're going to lay hands on you and have our guy sit, even though certainly you could maybe see a shot in that game of somebody trying to get back at him because he absolutely gave out a cheap shot without question. So someone may try and cheap him, but rarely do you see a team admit that and say, you know what? We're so worried about this that we're going to sit our guy for it. So I would not see that happening. But I definitely would see the Bills. And you don't want anything illegal, though. What Gronk did was completely illegal. But you don't want to see retribution in an illegal way to try and hurt somebody. But then again, those guys had a teammate laying on the ground after Gronk absolutely cheap shot at them.
Yeah, when we talk about players policing the game, that's not what we're talking about.
No,
to be 100% clear.
Absolutely right.
Again, that hearing is today, and Derek Brooks, the former linebacker, great linebacker, Hall of Fame linebacker for the Tampa Bay Bucs all those years, will be the one hearing the appeal of Ron Gronkowski. I would be somewhat shocked.
I'd be stunned. I don't. Yeah. It's too blatant. Because then you have to, again, this is because a lot of people are saying, why are you appealing? You appeal because that's what you do.
Correct.
Even though it is a player,
you're
representing all the players, and one of the players got cheaped got his head driven into the ground. But you appeal it because if you win the appeal, then if another thing happens and you can say, well, look what you did last time, the appeal was won and it became just a fine because that's what would happen here.
Yeah.
He would probably just be fined if he wins this appeal and not suspended. I don't see that happening. I see this suspension being upheld.
All right, we'll see what happens going forward. That appeal will be later on today. They might have it for you on NFL Live today at 1:30, or it could be later on the 6 with Michael and Jamel. We are done for today. Coming up tomorrow, we'll have John Gruden in studio talk about the optics that he saw from the Monday Night Football game. That'll be on the phone, rather. Plus, the new head coach of the Devil's Digest, Herm Edwards, will join us, as well as the big man, Damian Woody. That's all ahead on a Wednesday. Thanks for being with us one more time, Golic and Wingo.